concerned. In a fresh statement, United States President Donald Trump has threatened to impose 100% tariff against Canada if Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney moves ahead with an announced trade deal with China. That's another statement that has been made by Donald Trump. And this is related to Canada. Remember, yesterday as well, he had posted on social media, he had threatened Canada as well. And now Donald Trump has once again threatened to impose 100% tariff against Canada if the Prime Minister there moves ahead with the announced trade deal with China. On that, let me once again bring in my colleague Srinjoy. Srinjoy, it appears that Donald Trump has issue with Canada signing a trade deal with China, and now he has threatened the country with 100% tariff.
You have to feel for the Canadians, because it must be said that first the Canadians feared they would be the American 51st state. That didn't happen. And then Prime Minister Carney, who is widely considered to have very good economic sense, decided that maybe it was a good idea to have better economic ties with other countries, including Europe, including China, including Southeast Asia, and fewer ties, as his own people were not keen to go to America, Florida for holidays. They were not keen to buy American goods. This was after this 51st state issue. And let's not forget, there is one country that is right in between the United States and Greenland, and that is Canada. So now, because Prime Minister Carney has reached out to the Chinese, the president is very upset. He believes that this is a way of bringing the Chinese into North America. And this is also a strategic mistake, which is why he believes that the only punishment that the Canadians should face is 100% tariff. Let's not forget that India faces 50% tariff. Brazil faces 50% tariff. So this is India plus Brazil, basically double the tariff that India is facing, that Canada, which has much closer ties, economic ties with the Americans, will face.
Stay on with us, Srinjoy. I'm joined by former diplomat KB Fabian. Thank you so much, sir, for connecting with us. Another day, another tariff threat that Donald Trump has given. And this time on the radar is Canada. He is showing apprehension of Canada signing a trade deal with China, saying that if he goes ahead with that, then in fact he will be imposing 100% tariff on the country.
I think what we have to understand, and we should always look at the big picture. When in April last year, Trump announced the so-called Liberation Day and imposed tariffs on the rest of the world dared not talk to each other. And Trump was therefore able to conduct bilateral negotiations, and all his partners were in a weak position. Now, European Union, as you know, threatened to use a bazooka, as they call it, against Trump after he threatened to impose tariffs on the 8 countries that send, a few troops to Greenland. That is why Trump had to make a U-turn. Now, if Mexico and the European Union are going to leave Canada alone, well, then Canada will be in deep trouble. What is required, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but what is required is for the European Union and Mexico and Brazil to sort of, have consultations and make it clear that they will hit back unitedly. But I do not know whether it has happened or not.
Absolutely. So another day, another threat that has been given by Donald Trump. Thanks so much, sir, for connecting with us and giving your perspective on this. Let me now take our viewers through what Donald Trump has posted on social media and a threat that has been given to Canada. He said, and I quote, "The last thing that the world needs is to have China take over Canada. It's not going to happen and or even close to happening." Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald Trump saying that the last thing that the world needs is to have China take over Canada. On that, let me go across to our colleague Srinjoy. Srinjoy, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, he was really concerned about China taking over Greenland, and now he's concerned about China taking over Canada as well, saying that he will be imposing tariff.
As far as Greenland is concerned, he's spoken about Russia, he's spoken about China. Now the Greenland issue is very unusual because Greenland is part of Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark. Now the Danes are part of NATO, which America heads. It's an alliance. It's a military alliance that's lasted 70, 75 years. It's also, the Denmark is part of the European Union, also friends of America, part of the Western alliance. Now, he believes either Russia or China can take over Greenland. So the European counter to that is, why annex Greenland? Why give Greenland to America? Why not have NATO troops there? There were 15,000 troops there once upon a time, so why not have a large number? Now, President Trump believes that the Danes had only 2 dog sleds there, and now they have 3. So there is a clear difference of opinion. What can be done now is what the French are doing. In collaboration with the Danes, they move troops there. And if the British, the Danes, the Swedes, the Baltic states, the Nordic states all move some troops there, there will be enough NATO troops in the area. Let's not forget that Sweden and Finland are now part of NATO. So as a result, this is a problem. And China is the one worry of President Trump. Let's not forget that President Trump had imposed enormous tariffs on the Chinese. And the Chinese pulled out one joker from the pack. And that joker was rare earths. Once the Chinese told the world that, look here, we control 90% of the world's rare earths, which is responsible for all high-tech activities, then, well, this is something the Americans got worried about. And there has been conversation, and the Americans have pulled back from all those tariffs. Now, President Trump says, okay, if Greenland is threatened by the Chinese and Russians, I will annex it. Now, are the Russians and Chinese keen on Greenland? So far, the Europeans say that they are not. And of course, the Canadians have reached out for economic cooperation with other parts of the world, with the EU, with Southeast Asia, and yes, China. And that's what irks the president. He doesn't want Chinese goods in Canada. And that's where the tariff issue is coming in. And 100% tariff is double the tariff India faces.
All right, so it remains to be seen whether Canada signs a deal, the trade deal with China or not, and what the repercussions will be. Another big story.